Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, first of all, thanks for the organizers to setting up this very nice meeting and invite me. I very much enjoyed all the talks, what I heard so far. Yeah, so in this talk, in this presentation, I will talk about Andreev-molecules. Yeah, let me start with some historical introduction because it's almost precisely 100 years back when the spectrum of atoms and the simplest molecules were properly described. And we could say that that's a really important breakthrough in physics, and this set the stage for quantum mechanics 100 years back. And this is still our main working course of all our communities, and create such nice and exciting problems what we could hear in this conference. But I mean, the basic understanding of molecules were also important for other disciplines. So it took 20 or 30 years, and then there were certain discoveries like the polymerization, which is very, very important in chemistry. Or if I want to give another example from biology, then the structure of the DNA molecule is also based on the foundation of the understanding of simple molecules. So since this first quantum revolution, many things happened, and in these days we can study not just normal atoms, but we could also create atoms, right? Artificial atoms, some confinement in which we could capture electrons. Yesterday we heard nice structures from germanium. We could also make such structures in indium arsenide nanowires with some local gates which we place below that. We could make a confinement potential in which we could capture electrons. And if you check, what is the physics of a simple molecule is I mean, for us educated in quantum mechanics, it's very boring, because essentially what happens if you have an electron on one of an artificial atom, this electron can simply tunnel to the other atom and then tunnel back and forth, and this tunneling creates hybridization between the levels of the two different atoms. So let us add a bit of twist to this problem and separate the two atoms by a superconducting vacuum. And if it's a superconducting vacuum, I can still do that. I take an electron from the left artificial atom and I bring it to the right. This is one hybridization channel, but there is another process as well. So for instance, if I have an electron on the left side and another electron on the right side, then they could just get to the superconductor, and into the BCS condensate they could disappear in the superconducting vacuum. And similarly, it could also happen if you have a Cooper in a superconductor. I can take it out to the two atoms. This is what we call cross-Andreev reflection. So if we add some superconducting parts to some atomic systems, this brings some new hybridization channels for these atoms. And my talk is focusing on superconducting molecules, which I call Andreev molecule. And well, the simplest version is this, what I have shown, that you have two artificial atoms. We place a superconductor between them. But in the last few years of literature, one can find other versions. So if you get back to the talk of Marcelo, then one can also create such a molecule in a way that we change the artificial atom to a ballistic channel, and an Andreev bound state here, and another Andreev bound state here, which are separated by the thin superconductor, can make some molecular state. Another version could be when we put the superconductors on the side of the artificial atoms. A beautiful version, what Srijit was talking about, when we couple the two artificial atoms not by a superconductor, but by an Andreev bound state in the middle. And we can add further twist in a way when to our atoms there are several superconductors are coupled, which add some such multi-terminal device adds further possibility to tune by the different phase differences. Of course, if you look back, the physics or chemistry of molecules, the system can be much more interesting if you don't use just a single type of atoms, but we try to use, different type of atoms. So, for instance, a normal atom, and then also some superconducting atoms, and we build up some polyatomic structures out of it. So this is like a large zoo, which is just in these days expanding, the zoo of Andreev-molecules. And today in this talk, I would like to talk about our measurements on these two basic types, which we could call this like an Andreev hydrogen molecule, and about this polyatomic Andreev molecule, which you could say is an Andreev water molecule. So before I would get to our results, maybe just let us overview, this simple system when an artificial atom is coupled to a superconductor. What is the spectrum of this system? So if you are focusing on an artificial atom, it has some certain orbitals on which you could put electrons. And we want to put 2 electrons on such an artificial atom. We have to pay an extra energy of the charging energy, because the electrons repel each other. So it's having 2 electrons in the system is at a higher energy. And if we have the superconducting system next by, this you could imagine like we have the possible quasi-particle states above the superconducting gap. And again, when we couple these 2 systems, then some interesting things could happen, because an electron on the artificial atom with another unpaired electron in these quasi-particle states could again start to do this hybridization that they just disappear into the superconducting condensate. And the outcome of this hybridization is that one quasi-particle state from the superconducting gap gets to a lower energy, which we call Andreev bound state or Yushchyba-Ruzhinov state. So this is the spectrum. We expect a state inside the superconducting gap when we couple these 2 systems. And as a function of the level position of the quantum dot, the energy of this state evolves, as you can see here. So this is the energy, or in a measurement, that's the bias voltage. And this was measured in the last decade in different type of systems: indium arsenide nanowires, carbon nanotubes, and so on. Okay, so let's get then to these 2 systems, an Andreev hydrogen molecule, or first. How do we realize that? So before try to start to realizing, I mean, there is a non-trivial question here, right? So you want to hybridize these 2 artificial atoms via superconductor. It is a question whether, whether the states, these Andreev bound states which extend into the superconductor, can be long enough to get to the other quantum dot, and it could hybridize together. And in this work, we showed, adding a tunnel probe on the other side of the superconductor, that in this Shiba state or Andreev state, I will use the two names for the same in this talk. It can extend to 100 nanometers, which is enough long to create 2 quantum dots close to each other. So the system in which we realized this Andreev molecule was an indium arsenide nanowire-based system, where in Copenhagen they were growing indium arsenide nanowires very close to each other, which just, during the growing, they stick together. There is no contact between the 2 nanowires, but they get very close. And after that, they evaporate some epitaxial aluminum layer on one side of this double wire. So here you could see these are the 2 wires, and this is the aluminum layer on the surface. That's a cross-section image, where that's the indium arsenide, another indium arsenide, and that's the aluminum around. And that was the material, our starting point from which we made the device. And to have these 2 double dots, so this Andreev molecule structure, we did the following. We took this double wire. We removed the aluminum shell in this small brown region. And then one of the a quantum dot was realized in one of the wire, the other quantum dot in the other wire, and then this shell served as a superconductor between the two sides. Why was this geometry preferable? Because this is such a geometry where we can minimize the distance between the two artificial atoms, and thereby the the coupling via the superconductor could be maximal. So this device and this is one contact and another contact, and it turned out that this device worked in a way that we have a superconductor on one side, quantum dot in one of the wire, another quantum dot in another wire, and the tunneling coupling was strong from this superconductor to the dots, while from another contact it was significantly weaker. Therefore, the other contact we could use as a tunnel probe to make some bias spectroscopy on these two parallel dots. Yes, so we have two gates, and with the two gates we could tune the dot levels separately, and we expect as a function of one of the dot level and another dot level such a chessboard pattern where the numbers shows the number of electrons on one of the dot and another dot, and one could expect hybridization, about which Srijit was also talking about. If the cross-Andreev reflection is strong, then the 1-1 state hybridizes strongly with the 2-2 state. So in this setup, just to let me get to here, to understand the spectrum what we measure by the weakly coupled gate, we should understand based on this cartoon what we expect. So what you see here is the energy spectrum as a function of one of the dot gate voltage. So we tune one of the dot level, and then what we expect that if at the dot there is this Andreev bound state which has these eye-shape like features, which we should see, and we keep the other dot, the level of the other dot unchanged. So therefore, we should see the Andreev level of the another dot at a certain energy. This is this green line. And since these two dots are parallel coupled, we should see both features at the same time in the measurements. This green level is not exactly constant everywhere, because as we change the gate voltage and we change the number of electrons on one of the dots, then these dots are very close by. There is a capacitive coupling between them. So adding some electron on one of the dots will shift the energy levels of the other dot, and therefore the position of this Andreev level is also shifting. So that's what we expect from a measurement as a function of one of the gate voltage, if there is no hybridization in the two artificial atoms. These are some simulations of the spectrum, what we expect. And if there is some hybridization via the superconductors, then the spectrum gets much more complicated, as you could see it here. So several other lines appear. There are some anti-crossings. There are asymmetries in the spectrum. And when we carried out measurements on our device, we see very similar features, several lines which are following similarly the shape than what we expect in the measurement. So this hybridization via the superconductor layer is between these two dots. So that was about the spectrum of this hydrogen Andreev hydrogen molecule, and most of my time I would like to focus more on this newer results on this Andreev water molecule, which includes a new part. This is a superconducting island, and how should we imagine a superconducting island? So it's a metallic island, and in a metallic island, if there are some charging energy, and we forget about superconductivity, then we would expect these parables for the energy for different fillings of the superconducting island. If you switch on superconductivity, then every second parabole shifts a bit down, because when the electrons are paired, they gain some energy. So there will be smaller regions with odd number of electrons and wider regions with even number of electrons. And if the U and delta ratio is opposite, so the superconducting gap is larger, then this every second parabole is shifted more up, and then we will just have even occupations of the superconducting island. So this is well known for 20, 30 years. The first such islands were studied, where you could see in an island these two. These are the Coulomb peaks as current versus gate voltage, and there is 2e periodicity in the superconducting state and 1e periodicity in the normal state. And also from these nanowires, having the superconduction shell on top of the nanowires, not so long time ago in Copenhagen there were measurements where they could show that also from this limit we could get to this other limit. Our goal is to combine that with the normal artificial atom and see how the spectrum changes. So the device where we studied that was again these double nanowires, where this blue region is the aluminum shell where we left it on the wires. This is the superconducting island, which we confined with these gates in the middle of the device. And here in the bottom, in the two wires, we will form two quantum dots with the side gates. And let us focus so we pass some current from here down, and we are focusing on the spectrum of the superconducting island. So this is just the spectrum of the superconducting island as a function of its gate. So that this is the gate of the superconducting island, which shows Coulomb diamonds with 2e periodicity. How do we know that it's 2e? If you apply some magnetic field and we make a cross section here in the middle, you see that there are one line, one line, one line, and they are split up to 2 at high magnetic field when we get to the normal state. So this is an island with, in which we can put the electrons only by pairs pairs. And now, if we have this island, let's couple to these quantum dots and add some electrons on that dots. So this figure shows this is the axis of tuning the superconducting ion level, and this is the axis along which we can add electrons one by one on the quantum dot. So here in this particular cross section, we have 0 electrons on the dots, and we see this 2e periodicity of the superconducting island. Now let us move one charge state from here to there, and then we will have 1 electron on the green dot. And if you check here a cross section, you see that there are twice as many lines as what we see here cross section. So in the blue case we have just these 2 peaks, while in this green cross section we have an additional peak here as well. So from this 2e periodicity we get to this larger, smaller diamond case. So there is a strong effect of having an electron coupled to the superconducting island on the spectrum of the superconducting island. We could also do it with another quantum dot, that we put 1 electron on that one, and this does the same again. From 2e periodicity we get to this even odd regime. And now comes the interesting part. When we put electrons in both quantum dots, what will happen then? And then that cross section, you can get it from here, and the cross section is plotted what you could see here. It tells that this odd region, when we have unpaired electron on the island, gets even wider due to these 2 electrons. So how could we understand that? So that's the spectrum for the superconducting island when the dots are empty. then the odd occupation is very, very high. So it has a very short regime where it's possible. When we add an electron on one of the dot, then essentially this electron on a quantum dot can make a pair with an unpaired electron on a superconducting island. As they hybridize, they can gain energy. So therefore, these blue curves, the first possible state, which is accessible by unpaired electron on a superconducting island, is shifted more down in energy. And if we have an unpaired electron on both sides, then it is shifted even further down, since the odd region gets wider. So that's a kind of a molecular state, which is a 3-electron state, having 1 electron on one dot, other electron on another, and the third in a superconducting island. So whether that's really like this, with our colleagues in Budapest, we made some energy calculations on these systems, where actually from the experiments we can get the charging energy on the dot. We could set in the models the tunneling parameters between the superconducting island and the dots to get the Andreev bound state energies on one atomic side, and after that we asked, so then there is no fitting parameters. We could ask what will be the molecular energy, and for the molecular energy we get something like 0.1 milli-electron volt. While in a measurement we get I made one order of magnitude mistake, so it was 10 microelectron volt, and in the measurements we get 21 microelectron volt. And this we could only explain in a way that such a superconducting island whether it could make a molecule from 2 quantum dots is far not trivial, because it's a metallic island in which the level spacing is very, very tiny. So there are lots of states with which one quantum dot state could couple. And it can happen that one of the artificial atom couples to certain state, the other artificial atom couples to other states, and there will be no overlap between them. And then there would be no hybridization in this molecule. And from the theory, what tells us that it is not the case. In our measurement, there is roughly, this axis is the overlap between the tunnelings from one dot and from the other dot, and this is something like 50% what we get out from the theory. So my time is over, so just as a summary, I showed you 2 very simple examples of Andreev-molecules. This one, the hydrogen, and the water molecular type. And so we have seen that via superconducting island we can get indeed strong hybridization. And why is it good? So if it hybridizes in this way strongly, then we could think about to add another one and hybridize that as well. And if you continue further, this will be something like polymerization of these atoms. And well, if we compare what happens 100 years back, so we are at this stage. We have the simplest Andreev molecules in these days, and hopefully it will not take 30 years to get this polarization ready on the experimental side. So yeah, thanks for listening. I just would like to acknowledge our team members who were involved, and highlight that if you want to understand the theory part, then Mishi, who is here in the audience, will have a poster about that. Sorry to be a bit too late. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Szabolcs.